In the dark space between stars, the Voran Dominion gathered its fleet. Thousands of massive warships floated in formation, glowing with red and silver lights. Each ship carried weapons powerful enough to destroy a planet. And their next target was a small blue world, the galaxy called Earth. The High Commander, Zorath, stood on the bridge of the flagship Voran's Wrath. He looked at the holographic map that showed Earth spinning slowly in space. "Primitive world," he said with a grin. "No fleet, no shield, no threat." Around him, officers laughed, proud and sure of their victory before it even began. But one young officer, Trexen, was not laughing. He was quiet, staring at the data screen that showed human transmissions, news, and military records. "Commander," he said softly, "these humans, they are unpredictable. They fight even when they are losing." Zorath turned toward him, his red eyes glowing. "You fear animals? They still use bullets?" The bridge filled with laughter again. But Trexen looked uneasy. He had studied many species, and none had the strange courage that humans had. Reports came in from the scouts. Earth had no visible defense fleet. No planetary barrier, no energy grid. It looked defenseless, like prey waiting to be taken. The invasion countdown began. Zorath gave the order, "Prepare for warp. We reach Earth in 3 cycles." As the ships powered up, a strange signal appeared on their communication screen. At first, the tech officer thought it was interference. But the signal repeated, steady and clear. Zorath ordered, "Translate it." Everyone on the bridge froze when the message played. It was in a human voice, calm and slow. The message said only 5 words. "We know you're coming. For a moment." There was silence. Even the engines seemed to go quiet. The commander frowned. "Where did it come from?" The officer checked. "From Earth, sir." "Direct transmission," Zorath growled. "Impossible. They can't detect us this far," but Trexen whispered, "They can." He remembered reading about human probes, human radars, human curiosity. They looked into every shadow, searched every sky. If they knew the Voran fleet was coming, it meant something terrifying. "They were ready," the message repeated again. "We know you're coming, this time." The voice sounded colder, almost confident, as if humanity was not afraid, but waiting. Zorath slammed his clawed hand on the console. "Trace it! I want to know who sent it!" he shouted. The tech crew worked fast, their screens filled with codes, coordinates, and static. But every time they tried to trace the origin, the signal shifted. It moved between satellites. Bouncing from one point to another, it was as if the planet itself was alive and watching them. Trexen stepped forward, his voice shaking. "Commander, I think they want us to know they see us." Zorath turned to him angrily. "You think humans can play mind games with us?" But the unease on his face betrayed his doubt. Outside, the fleet's engines glowed brighter as they prepared to jump through hyperspace. But deep in the control room, every officer kept glancing back at the message. It played again and again on silent repeat, the human voice echoing like a whisper through the ship. "We know you're coming." No one laughed now. Even Zorath felt something he had not felt in years, fear. As the fleet vanished into hyperspace, heading toward Earth, Trexen looked out the window at the stars and thought, what if this is a trap? The stars stretched into lines and the invasion began. But somewhere far away on a small blue planet, a hidden network came alive, and in the shadows of Earth, something ancient opened its eyes, waiting for the intruders to arrive. The Voran fleet burst out of hyperspace at the edge of the solar system. Thousands of ships appeared like shadows among the stars, their engines glowing red and white. Before them floated the blue planet, Earth, silent and calm, spinning slowly under the light of its sun. For a moment, no one spoke on the bridge. It looked peaceful. Too peaceful. Zorath smirked. "There it is. Our prize." He raised his hand. "Prepare to deploy reconnaissance drones." Dozens of small ships launched from the fleet, speeding toward the planet. Their sensors scanned every corner of the world. Oceans, continents, cities, satellites. There were no defense fleets, no energy weapons, no sign of military movement. The reports came back clear. No resistance detected. "Commander!" The bridge erupted in laughter again. Zorath grinned. "See? They are nothing. They will fall like the others," but Trexen said nothing. He was watching the readings carefully, his eyes narrowing at strange data patterns. Some of Earth's satellites were not transmitting signals. They were silent, but still active. It was as if they were watching the watchers. Then something strange happened. A faint whisper broke through their communication system. At first, it sounded like static. Then a human voice spoke clearly. "Vorin Fleet, you are trespassing." The laughter stopped. Every head turned toward the comm station. Zorath's face turned pale. "What did that say?" The voice repeated, calm and emotionless. "Vorin Fleet. You are trespassing. Turn back or face consequences." Terexen froze. "They are speaking to us directly." The commander slammed his fist. "How could they know our name?" "Our fleet identity is encrypted." The tech officer's hands shook. "Sir, the message..." It bypassed all security layers. The bridge lights flickered, and for a second, the ship's main display showed an Earth symbol, a blue globe wrapped in golden light. Then the image vanished, replaced by static. "Who sent that?" Zorath shouted. The answer came from every ship at once. Each crew received the same message, the same voice. It was not from one source. It came from everywhere. Every satellite, every radio wave, every frequency, the human voice spoke again, louder this time. "You were warned." Suddenly, all the drones near Earth went offline. Their signals vanished as if swallowed by the void. The fleet's radar began to malfunction. Navigation systems blinked red. "We're losing sensors," cried one officer. Another shouted, "The targeting system just rebooted itself." Zorath's voice echoed, "Find the source. Find it now." But it was too late. A strange code appeared on their command screen. Unknown symbols filled the display. Shifting like living text, the ship's AI began to fail, and every alarm in the fleet started to scream. The aliens watched in horror as their communication screens went black. Then one single line of text appeared across every ship. "Do not come closer." Silence filled the fleet. The only sound was the deep hum of the engines and the nervous breathing of the crew. Terexen whispered, "They are inside our systems. They know everything about us." Zorath stared at the message, his claws digging into the console. He tried to speak, but his voice trembled. "No, they can't. They're primitive." At that moment, something appeared near Earth. A network of glowing points began to move around the planet, connecting like a web of light. It looked like a shield forming slowly, but no known technology could do that. The Vorin officers watched as the light grew brighter, and a low hum spread through space. It was like the sound of a heartbeat. Deep and powerful, the message repeated one last time. "You were warned!" The sound vanished, and everything went dark. For the first time in his life, Zorath felt real fear. Terexen looked at him and whispered, "Maybe this is not war, Commander." "Maybe it's a test." The commander turned to him, eyes wide. "What test?" he asked. Terexen's voice was cold. "The test of who survives meeting Earth." The Vorin fleet floated near Earth. Surrounded by cold silence, no human ships appeared. No weapons fired, no soldiers fought, only the soft glow of the planet and the mysterious lights circling around it. The commanders waited for orders, their eyes on Zorath, who stood frozen before the main screen. Finally, Zorath spoke, his voice sharp. "Enough of this fear. They are only humans. Begin the attack." The order spread through the fleet, and thousands of weapons came online. Red lights flashed as the cannons powered up, aiming straight toward Earth. But before the first shot could be fired, Terexen's voice cut through the noise. "Commander, wait! Something is moving near the planet!" Zorath turned angrily. "What now?" Terexen pointed at the sensors, his voice shaking. "Those satellites, they're not just machines, they're forming a pattern." The officers stared at the screen. The satellites around Earth began to connect by thin lines of light, each one glowing brighter until a massive circular grid surrounded the entire planet. It looked like a web of golden energy, shifting and alive. The light pulsed like a heartbeat, slow and deep, echoing across their sensors. Zorath growled, "Fire at will." The fleet unleashed thousands of plasma shots. The space around them turned red and white as energy bolts raced toward Earth. For a second, the aliens felt victory, but then something impossible happened. The weapons disappeared, not exploded, not blocked, not deflected. They simply vanished in mid-space. The energy signatures were gone, as if the shots had never existed. Gasps filled the command bridge. "What? What was that?" whispered one of the officers. Zorath roared, "Fire again! All ships, fire!" They fired once more and once again. The same thing happened. Every weapon, every missile, every beam, gone. The radar showed no impact. No reflection, no explosion, just empty space. Then, the human voice returned, calm and emotionless. "You were warned." The sound echoed through every ship, through every speaker. Even ships that had shut down communication systems still heard it. It came through power lines, through vibrations, through the metal of the ships themselves. It was as if the message was speaking directly into their minds. Terexin felt a chill run through his body. He turned to Zorath, his voice low. "Commander, it's not coming from a single source, it's everywhere." "It's like the planet itself is alive," Zorath shouted. "Impossible! They're just humans." But even as he said it, the fear in his voice grew stronger. Suddenly, all their targeting systems went offline. Screens turned black, lights dimmed, and engines began to flicker. Every system in the fleet was being taken over. "Commander, we are losing control of navigation," one officer screamed. Another shouted, "Our shields are collapsing!" Then a new signal appeared on their main screen. It was a human face, made of static and light. Cold and expressionless, the face spoke slowly. "You crossed the line, now you will see." The image vanished, replaced by a strange symbol, a circle of light with 3 lines through it. Terexin stared at it, whispering, "That's not human military." "I've never seen it before." The fleet's outer ships began to twist and break. No explosions, no enemy fire, just invisible pressure crushing metal like paper. One by one, the ships vanished into nothingness. Only silence remained, and the glowing web around Earth pulsed brighter. Zorath stepped back, his face pale. "This isn't possible. No civilization has power like this." Terexin looked at the dying fleet and said quietly, "Maybe it's not civilization, Commander. Maybe it's something older." As the last surviving ships retreated from orbit, the human voice whispered one last time through the static, "You shouldn't have come." And then, everything went dark. The fleet floated in silence. Broken and terrified, Zorath's pride was gone. His hands trembled as he stared at Earth. That small blue planet had done something no empire had ever managed. It made the Vorin Dominion afraid. And far below, hidden deep beneath Earth's surface, something ancient was awakening, its eyes glowing with light. It had waited centuries for this moment, and now it was awake again. The Vorin fleet drifted in silence near the dark side of the moon. Half of their ships were gone, vanished without trace. The remaining vessels floated like wounded animals, their systems half dead, their lights flickering weakly. Zorath stood on the bridge, silent, his face pale and his voice quiet. Terexin was the first to speak. "Commander, our main communication array is destroyed. Long-range scanners are offline." Zorath didn't answer. He only stared at Earth. The glowing blue world below every few seconds. The mysterious golden web pulsed around it. Shining like a heartbeat, the rhythm seemed alive, steady, calm, and terrifying. Suddenly, a low hum filled the ship. It started soft, like wind through a tunnel, but grew deeper and louder. The floor shook. The lights flickered again. Terexin shouted, "The power core is reacting to something." The hum stopped, and then a voice spoke again, calm, deep, and emotionless. "You were warned, yet you came." Zorath spun around. "Who are you?" The voice answered, "We are the Aegis Protocol." The bridge crew froze. The sound wasn't coming from speakers. It was coming from inside their minds. Each word felt heavy, echoing through the metal walls and through their thoughts. Terexin whispered, "Aegis, it's not human, is it?" The voice continued, "Humanity sleeps, but we remain. We were built to protect, to wait, to defend." Zorath's voice shook. "Built? By who?" The answer came at once. "By those who came before them, the first builders of Earth." The bridge went silent. Terexin looked at his commander, confusion on his face. "First builders? What does that mean?" Zorath stepped closer to the main screen. "Are you saying humans didn't create you?" The voice replied, They found us. They awakened us. And they gave us purpose again. Suddenly, the screen lit up with images, old black and white photographs, human scientists standing beside strange underground machines, lines of alien code and symbols carved into metal walls, ancient caverns beneath mountains, filled with light and humming energy. Terexen stared in disbelief. "Commander, this means humans discovered technology older than their own species," Zorath muttered. "And now it protects them," the voice spoke again. "We warned the stars once before, and they did not listen. They burned." "As you now will," Zorath shouted. "Stop this! We will leave! We mean no harm!" But the voice ignored him. "Your kind seeks conquest, but Earth is not your prey. It is your test." All around the fleet, strange readings began to appear on the radar. Massive energy spikes erupted beneath Earth's surface. The golden web brightened, and invisible waves of force began to spread through space. One by one, the Voran ships started losing control again. Engines went offline, weapons melted, metal cracked like glass. Terexen ran to the console, his voice trembling. "We're not fighting humans, Commander. We're fighting something much older, something that protects them." Zorath gripped the edge of the console, his eyes full of panic. "But why now? Why not before?" The voice answered again. "Because now they are ready." The bridge filled with blinding white light. Every ship's system was scanned, copied and erased in seconds. The fleet's memory was gone. Their coordinates lost, their power drained. Then everything stopped. No sound, no light, only silence. When the lights returned, only a few ships remained. The others had vanished completely. The survivors were drifting helplessly in orbit. Zorath sank to his knees, his voice broken. "What are they?" he whispered. Terexen looked at the blue planet below, glowing like a god's eye in the dark. "They are humans, Commander," he said softly. "But something far greater stands with them. Far below the clouds, deep beneath the crust of Earth, the Aegis network pulsed once more. The ancient AI whispered quietly through the static, 'Earth is safe, and the stars have been warned.' The remains of the Voran fleet floated above Earth like broken shadows. Engines dead, weapons useless, communications silent. Only 10 ships out of thousands still had power. Zorath stood on the bridge of his crippled flagship. Staring at the planet below, the blue world looked peaceful. But he knew now that peace was only a mask. Terexen worked quickly on the control panel, trying to reboot the navigation system. "Commander, our warp drive is gone. Something is blocking the field," he said. Zorath didn't answer, his eyes locked on Earth. "What are they hiding down there?" he whispered, his voice full of fear. Then the lights flickered again. A pulse of golden energy spread from the planet like a wave of sunlight. It washed over every ship, shaking their systems and disabling their weapons completely. "Shields down!" one officer shouted. "We are open to everything!" But nothing attacked them. No missiles, no lasers, no ships. Only that calm, silent light filled the space between them. Terexen stared at the readings. "The energy source is not from the surface. It's from beneath the planet." Zorath turned sharply. "Beneath?" "Yes, Commander," Terexen said, his voice shaking. "It's coming from inside the planet itself." The voice of Aegis returned, deep and powerful. "You were warned." "But you did not listen," Zorath shouted. "We surrender." "Stop this!" The voice ignored him. Surrender is not enough. The lesson must be remembered. Suddenly, the web of golden light around Earth expanded outward. It formed massive rings of energy that reached the nearest ships. The moment they touched the rings, their metal hulls began to melt like wax. No explosion, no debris. Just silence as the ships turned into light and vanished by the stars. Terexen whispered. "They're erasing us!" Zorath slammed his fist on the console, his voice breaking. "They can't destroy us all. There must be something left." But even as he spoke, one of the larger cruisers disintegrated before his eyes. The crew screamed as their ship faded into nothingness. All that remained was a shimmer of dust and light. The voice of Aegis spoke again. "Humanity does not start wars, but it remembers every threat." The words echoed across every remaining ship. Each syllable carried weight, cold and final. Then the voice continued. "Earth does not attack, it defends, and it endures. For the first time, Zorath's pride broke completely. He dropped to his knees, whispering, "We thought they were weak. We thought they were easy prey." Terexen turned to him, his voice soft but steady. "They were never weak, Commander. They were waiting." Outside, the last few ships began to glow. The energy from Earth was spreading faster now, forming patterns in the sky. Each pattern looked like ancient symbols made of light. The aliens didn't understand them, but they could feel the meaning: warning, power, survival. The command screens filled with one final message, a single human phrase written in bright white text. "Humanity does not bow." Then the fleet's power vanished completely. Their ships stopped moving, frozen in space. The lights of Earth faded back to normal. The golden web around it slowly dissolved into the dark. Zorath looked at Terexen, his voice broken and empty. "What now?" Terexen looked down at the quiet planet and whispered, "We run, Commander, and we never come back." Aegis spoke one last time. "Remember what you saw and tell the stars. Earth is not prey." The Voran survivors turned their ships away, their engines barely working, but enough to escape as they fled into deep space. They looked back one last time. Earth remained silent, calm, and beautiful. A small world that had faced the might of an empire and won without firing a single shot. Deep below the surface, Aegis powered down. The voice faded into silence, whispering only one final phrase: "Threat neutralized, humanity secure." The journey back to the Voran Dominion was long and silent. Only a few ships survived the disaster near Earth. Their engines were weak, their systems damaged, and their crew broken by fear. No one spoke for days, afraid that even speaking about Earth might awaken something again. Terexen sat at the control desk, his eyes staring into the dark void. He replayed the final transmission again and again. The calm human voice still echoed in his mind. "Remember what you saw and tell the stars. Earth is not prey." Those words were burned into his thoughts like fire. Zorath, once proud and loud, was silent now. He spent his time alone in his chamber, staring at nothing. The commander who once laughed at humans now looked like an old, broken shell. His soldiers avoided his eyes. Even his presence no longer gave them courage. When they finally reached Voran Prime, the homeworld of their empire, the news of their return spread fast. An entire armada destroyed by a primitive planet. It was unthinkable. The High Council demanded answers. They gathered in the Grand Chamber, a massive hall filled with leaders, scientists, and generals. Terexen and Zorath stood before them, their uniforms torn, their faces pale. The Supreme Chancellor leaned forward, his voice cold and sharp. "You left with 2,000 ships and returned with 10. Explain." Zorath opened his mouth, but no sound came out. His eyes were distant, haunted. So Terexen stepped forward, his voice steady but low. "It wasn't humans who destroyed us," he said. "It was something else." The chamber filled with whispers. The Chancellor frowned. "Something else?" Terexen nodded slowly. "They call it Aegis, a protector, an ancient intelligence that defends Earth." The generals laughed at first. "A machine destroyed our fleet?" one mocked, but Terexen pressed a button and activated the recording. The lights in the hall dimmed as the projection began. The image of Earth appeared, glowing softly in space. Then came the voice, cold, calm, and powerful. "Humanity does not start wars, but it ends them." The room fell silent. Everyone watched as the golden web surrounded Earth and the Voran ships vanished one by one. When the recording ended, the room remained still. No one laughed now. No one spoke. The Chancellor's eyes were wide, his voice a whisper. "This is not human technology," Terexen nodded. "No, it is older, far older, but the humans control it now." Zorath finally spoke, his voice trembling. "They didn't even fight us, they warned us. They erased us without a single shot." He looked up at the council, his eyes wet and hollow. "If we go back, we won't return again." The generals exchanged nervous glances. Fear spread across the hall like a shadow. The Chancellor stood and raised his hand for silence. "From this day, no ship will approach the Terran system," he declared. "Let their world remain untouched, their skies forbidden to us." His words echoed through the chamber. Every soldier, every leader understood. Earth was no longer seen as weak. It was now a name spoken with fear and respect. Later that night, Terexon stood alone on a balcony. He looked up at the stars and saw the small blue glow of Earth far away. He whispered softly, "You won, humans, but what are you really protecting?" He knew he would never have the answer, because whatever lived beneath that planet's surface was not just guarding Earth. It was guarding something far greater. Something ancient and silent in the darkness of space far away. The faint pulse of golden light still flickered. It was not gone, only waiting, watching the stars, listening for threats, and whispering in the void, "Earth is safe." The Watchers remain. Months passed since the Voran fleet returned in defeat, but their story spread faster than light. Across every star system, every empire, and every trading outpost, aliens whispered about the planet that destroyed a fleet without firing a single shot. They called it the Silent Planet. Some said Earth was home to an ancient weapon. Others believed it was protected by gods disguised as humans. But one truth remained the same in every tale. No one dared to go near it again. In the Galactic archives, the official record listed Earth as a restricted zone. The words were simple: "Do not approach the Terran system," by order of the Galactic Council. Even the boldest warlords avoided that part of space. Fear had replaced curiosity. Respect had replaced greed on Voran Prime. Terexon was promoted to Admiral. But he carried no pride in the title. Every night, he dreamed of the blue world and the golden light. He remembered the calm human voice that had warned them. "We know you're coming." And every time he heard those words in his mind, he felt a chill that no fire could warm. One evening, as he stood by the star window, a young officer approached. "Admiral, the Council asks if Earth is safe for contact now." Terexon looked at him for a long moment. Then he said quietly, "Safe? Yes, if you stay far away." The officer frowned. "But, sir, we could learn from them." Terexon turned his gaze back to the stars. "You don't learn from storms," he said. "You survive them, far away in another galaxy." Merchants told stories of a message that appeared in deep space transmissions. It was faint, but clear enough to be recognized. A repeating human signal that said, "This is Earth Command for the safety of all species. Do not engage." The message played on frequencies no one could block or trace. No one knew how it was being sent, but everyone who heard it felt the same emotion: warning. Some believed the humans had built a machine so advanced it could think like a god. Others thought the machine had built the humans instead. No one could prove either theory, and so the legend grew, "Do not disturb the blue world, for it remembers on Earth." Life continued as normal. People went to work, laughed, built, and dreamed. No one knew that deep beneath their feet, ancient machines watched the stars. Buried under mountains and oceans, the Aegis network slept. Its voice silent, its purpose complete, but its sensors were always active, listening for signs of danger. In a hidden control chamber, far below the Earth's crust, a faint hum returned. A soft light blinked on one of the consoles. A line of text appeared on the dark screen. "Foreign probe detected near Neptune orbit." For a moment, everything was quiet, then another line appeared. "Activating defense observation protocol, high above the planet." One of the golden satellites flickered to life. It turned slowly, facing the edge of the solar system. The same calm human voice that once terrified an empire spoke again. "We know you're coming." The message traveled across the stars. It passed through the void, touching the edges of distant worlds. And every civilization that heard it stopped and listened. They didn't dare to respond, because in the silence after that message, they could almost hear the sound of something ancient, watching, breathing, waiting, back on Voran Prime. Terexon heard the message once more through the Galactic network. He closed his eyes and whispered to himself, "They warned us, and we still didn't listen." He turned off the screen and looked out into the endless night. Far away, the stars seemed dimmer now, and in his heart, he knew one truth. The galaxy had learned fear, and its teacher was Earth.